I've always liked doing things different. Yeah, I've always just kind of rebelled in terms of I love expression and I love passion and emotion, and I didn't realize I love that until later, if that makes sense. But I just kind of didn't want to go with the flow. I want to do things the way they should be, not the way they're done. I'm a big believer in that.
Hey Founders Pod listeners, what drives you? What is your passion? If you have a difficult time answering that question, I think you'll quickly learn that this week's guest has found his. Monte Keleher does not lack passion. In everything he does, he puts all his efforts into that thing. Listen to his story that took him all over the world, including a small village in Africa, to a retail brand, software financial company here in Eagle, looking to make big changes. That's today on the Founders Pod.
The Founders Podcast. Listen to the stories of how everyday extraordinary people start amazing businesses. Hear how they overcome the odds and find success in the entrepreneurial world. The up and down, the good and the bad, and everything in between. And now, your hosts, Jordan Hansen and Brandon Meinert.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Founders Pod. We are here in studio, in the United Commercial Insurance Studio. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Meinert. Hello, Brandon.
Hey, sir.
It's good to have you here.
Good to be here.
And then I am Jordan Hansen, and we're here in studio again, like I said. It's Monte, and it's Keleher. Keleher. I knew there's an H in there.
Yeah,
I just didn't know if it was pronounced or not, if it was just like a Keller.
No.
Keleher. Okay, Keleher. Well, we appreciate you having you here, or you being here today with us.
Yeah, of course.
It's funny because sometimes we meet the people for the first time because they're referred, and generally this would have been our first meeting, except for we had this random encounter on an airplane 6 months ago in October. I just happened to be sitting in the row behind him. We were both going down to Austin, and he'd been referred to us already, and he had a Fitted Retail, which is his company, on his jacket. It's a sweet looking jacket.
Yes, it is.
It's a sweet looking jacket, by the way. And so I was like, "Hey, are you Monte?" And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And I was it's just a weird little random encounter.
Where were you guys flying?
Austin.
Oh, to Austin.
Yeah, you had a conference, and I had kind of a conference there too, going there at the same time. Different conferences, but Austin's a beautiful city.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
Yeah, so we're excited to have you here, Monte. We're going to learn more about what you're doing, but always when we start, we like to learn. We have to ask the question, what you do in terms that our mothers will understand.
Okay.
Yeah, like what you do for your
You gotta
company, what
distill
does
it
your
down,
company
yeah.
do, and all that.
Because it's software, it's a SaaS
absolutely.
subscription business.
More of there is a SaaS side to us, but I like to consider us more of a fintech.
Okay, more fintech.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so I've looked into your software a little bit. I didn't understand fully, but anyway, why don't you just give us a quick rundown of kind of what it is you do?
Yeah, high level, we're a universal connectivity platform between brands and retailers, right? The best way to think of it is, let's say you and I, we go out to grab coffee right now. I forget my wallet. You say, no big deal, Venmo me, PayPal me, right? Like there's over 300 million people in this country, and without even you and I knowing each other, besides a plane interaction,
course,
right?
yes.
Obviously, very important. You just assumed that I was on one of two platforms in this world.
Right.
Like, that's a beautiful, incredible thing
of
connectivity, right? And me as a business owner, a retailer myself, I was wondering, why do I have to connect to all these different brands in all these different ways, right? Literally like different connections for every single brand, for orders, for payments, for invoicing, everything. And we believe that there should be a single platform where all brands and retailers live and can instantly do business like that, right? We're big believers that brands should be focused on delivering world-class product and relationships with their distributors, and retailers should be focused on delivering a world-class experience to their customers and building community. And everything in between should be handled by a single software.
And to summarize, I mean, really to help, like a practical application is, and originally you had focused on shoes, I think, right?
Yeah,
you were in that shoe niche, and it sounds like now you everywhere, clothes, whatever, any kind of brand, anything that's a physical good.
Yes,
really.
yes, yeah, it is physical goods, absolutely. Right now, I do see long term, it could be kind of any transaction. We bring value to that because, again, we're so big on human to human connection, and everything in between that shouldn't or doesn't need to be handled by the human, like the actual order process and the invoice process and the payment process. We want to make it as easy as possible to interact and do what we do best, which is being human.
So Fitted, what portion of the connectivity do you guys manage?
Yeah, I love that. So we literally manage everything from inventory visibility to the order to the invoice to the payments.
So you think about what's the store in the village? It's Fleet Foot?
Yeah, Fleet Feet.
Fleet Feet.
Yeah, Fleet Feet.
Yeah, you've been there.
Clients, yeah.
You're going to Fleet Feet, and they have all these. They represent all the. They have Nike, Reebok, New Balance, whatever. They have all these different shoe brands, and they have to manage their systems. Like Nike might have a different one, Reebok might have a different one.
Their purchasing systems?
They're purchasing.
Yes, exactly. Those connections, and that's where Fitted fits in, right in between those two, to try to make it just super easy for Fleet Feet to be able to manage their inventory.
Are you an ERP or?
No, we interact with ERPs,
okay.
right? So usually, and this is I love that we're getting into this. The brands, big companies can afford ERPs, right? Little retailers like myself originally, right? And even Fleet Feets typically have your POS system, right? You're not going to buy a huge ERP. It's just not that big typically to manage.
POS being like a point of sale.
Point of sale, sorry. That does
system.
have your inventory. But when it comes to, hey, I want to order from a Nike or a Brooks or an Asics or On, you have to log in to their B2B platform, right? And place the order.
Right.
And then you receive an invoice manually and you're told within 60 days to pay it. And you have to remember on day 59 to log in and to pay it, right? Like that's crazy to me. And so what Fitted does is we essentially bring this wild view on inventory where it doesn't just show kind of what Nike has, for example, but it shows what the entire country has, right? So you're buying smarter and dynamically. And then for the payments piece, what's so wild is we actually pay the brands immediately up front.
Fitted does.
On behalf of the retailer, right? And so the brands are like, their mind's blown because they're like, hold on, you're going to pay me instead of me waiting 60 or 90 days and then I have to go track it down half the time, right? No, Fitted pays, boom, right off the bat. Like as soon as that invoice is generated, we pay. And then to the retailer, what's so cool is instead of like, again, just having 60 days to pay it, we say, you get your 60-day option, but we're going to sprinkle in optionality. So you can choose to pay upon shipping, and Fitted is going to give you an additional 2% discount. You pay net 30, we're going to give you a 1% discount, right?
Okay.
Because for us, it behooves us to get the money back as fast as possible because it's going out, right? And so we're providing retailers with the first ever payment optionality and flexibility to control their own cash flow, while the brands are getting, for the first time ever, immediate payment up front.
So this is interesting because you're sort of a distributor in a way.
We don't own the inventory. Right. We don't touch the inventory, and it's not us ordering the inventory.
Right. Okay. So what's interesting about that is oftentimes when you're setting up a retail shop, you go to these big brands and they say minimums.
Yes.
And whatever. Yeah. And if you don't qualify, you don't get a sell-in, but you're offering without minimums such a huge array of products that they could sell.
Yeah, they still have to get approved.
Okay, so they have to get approved through. It's not Fitted that gets approved.
Because what we're doing is we're trying to drive relationship, right? Meaning we want Nike to be 1,000% focused and their rep to be completely focused on the relationship that they have with their retailers. It's not our business to tell a Nike who to sell to, how to sell to it, right? That we believe that should be the core of what they do. What they shouldn't do is have to spend months on credit checks and, restricting, like, I really want to sell more to you, but sorry, right now your credit limit's 10,000 or 100,000 or $1 million, right? Like, those conversations should be handled by a software that can maintain that and has a full visibility of the entire the entire outlook on that retailer, right? And Nike just can only look at Nike business for a particular retailer. We look at the entire,
holistic
business.
view.
Yeah, the holistic view, exactly. Of that.
So are you guys on the hook if they don't pay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Is that
that's good and bad.
a worry
You have
at all, or what?
Higher risk, higher reward.
Yeah, if you asked anyone else in my company, yeah, it's a worry. I love risk. What I say I love risk, I don't see it. I was a retailer for a long time. All my buddies are retailers. That's your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, we have to partner with the right brands. Like, at the end of the day, if things go south in your own life, you're buying food and you're taking care of your kids. We have to find the brands that are the food and the kids of the specialty athletic world, or, any of the retail world. Meaning, when things aren't going great, you as a retailer pay the bills of the brands that are most vital for you to survive. Okay. Right. And so, yeah, absolutely. Is that a worry? Yeah. It drives our, we have a whole finance team that's just about risk, which makes it so fun. But what puts us in such a unique position is no one has access to the data that we do. So we get that holistic view. We're connected to every retailer's bank account. We're connected to every retailer's real-time inventory, right? So we can see all their bills, their account flows. We could see everything if we wanted to, right? And then most important, we can see their real-time inventory, which is your greatest financial asset for any retailer in the world, right? And so we can literally, when a retailer is placing an order, if we can see that they're overextended or predict that they're going to be overextended, we can catch that order before it goes through and say, hey, Dodd, you sure you want to do that? Because me as a retailer, like, that's not my forte,
So that's fascinating. So you guys do make decisions based on that information a lot?
Yeah. Or? Yeah. We're and again, keep in mind that we just launched this July 2022, right? So we're still very new. But absolutely we can, tell our retailers or tell brands like, hey, you sure you want to do that? And it's really right now we're compiling all that data for ourselves. Most people and companies compile data to sell. No, we need to make it smarter so we can make retailers and local communities great, right? It doesn't matter how big you are.
And one of the hardest things to manage is inventory.
Oh,
yeah. For a business. And I had a company that was doing inventory, and it took years for us to even figure out how to do it well. And so for an application to come in and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't order that.
Yeah.
As a business owner, you may not know that you're overextending yourself, and you just think, I could sell it.
Yep.
Well, maybe you should wait to buy that.
Yes.
And for you to sell it. So that's interesting. Your software offers that consultation.
Yeah. And what's so wild is, again, we want to be unknown, right? Like, we're just the connectivity platform for a retailer to all their brands and brands to all their retailers, right? But because we are connected to thousands of retailers' real-time inventory, hundreds of brand and their inventory, and then payments, like, we're just getting this incredible view of the ecosystem, right? And so we're able to say, look, if you want Nike to be X percentage of your sales, market share wise, everyone always talks about market share on a sales basis. You sell what you have, right? Yeah. And so no one focuses on the what you have, right? What you sell is based a lot of times on what you have, right? And so we're able to predict things like, hey, if you brand X, if you want to be 12% of the market share, you need to be, 17% of the on-hand market share at any given time. Like, and me as a retailer, I'm going to trust that data rather than a brand coming to me and just saying, you need to buy more product, Mm-hmm. And so there's just a lot of neat things. And especially as we grow and we have more and more data and more AI and machine learning and so forth, we're going to be able to help retailers stay healthy and help brands.
Do the retailers sign up with you? Or how do they find you?
Yeah, I mean, retailers sign up. We really kind of play the flywheel effect, meaning we'll go to a massive retailer and talk to them about our benefits, and they lose their mind. And so then they go to all their brands and say, you need to join, and vice versa.
Okay.
Really the big play right now is go to the brands and say, like, hey, get all your retailers to see the value, because we're giving them bigger discounts, better dating. And for the brands, they're getting real-time inventory visibility, and then they're getting paid up front.
Are you the only one in that space?
Yeah, that does it end to end.
Okay.
We're just the only ones, dumb enough to take the chance. So,
and you say financial tech, so your focus, you want it to be helping, I guess, facilitate the purchasing of that kind of flow of goods.
Monetization, is it on that arbitrage between the two?
Yeah.
That's
so
it's not even a monthly fee. It's just arbitrage between.
Totally.
Yeah.
You win, we win.
Right.
That's just a big fan of like, and that's why we really have been marching towards this, because I don't believe you should pay for something you don't use. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we just believe that local business in general is the backbone and should be the backbone of this country, and we're losing it, right? Especially coming from the Bay Area, like communities being lost, and you can look around and you don't find small businesses anymore, right? Dollars are leaving the community. And so if we can be a software that levels the playing field but rises the tide, like, we'll play that game all day long, right? Because now Dick's Sporting Goods or a tiny individual mom and pop shop are going to have the same access to capital, same access to like speed, automation. Like, we're bringing it. And so it's whoever delivers the best world-class experience is going to win out.
Yeah.
Is it typically, do you like brick and mortar stuff or e-commerce? Does it matter to you guys?
It doesn't matter. We're definitely brick and mortar driven, for sure. We don't work with any like
drop shipping stuff.
Oh no, we do huge drop ship, business. But again, we want to be 100% of retailers and brands business between each other, right? And you do need to be in today's world. You gotta be, as a retailer, you gotta be brick and mortar. You gotta be online. You gotta be drop ship and omni, we'll call it.
Both.
Omni channel. Yeah, you gotta flex, right? In my opinion.
Yeah.
I just I love human to human interaction. So the idea of going online has no fun to me.
Yeah. And so you guys are focused, or you started out in the apparel.
Run specialty channel.
Run specialty. Shoes, clothing, all that.
Yeah.
But then the overall goal, and we may get into this later, but the overall goal is to take that into every space.
Correct.
Every retail space.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we started in Run Specialty just because that was my stores. Those are my relationships. And then quickly moved into kind of what we consider outdoor or athletic specialty in general. And so think of, even such as brown shoes and e-bikes and stuff like that, right? And then what's really fun is we just are launching actually right now with a very large Western boot company, right? Yeah. Which is awesome because my kids and I are into horses and stuff, and so this is fun, and it's a massive market.
Oh yeah,
it's huge. I mean, you just won't even think about it, but it did $84 billion last year.
Yeah, boots are big.
yeah, boots, saddles, everything.
But if you're not into that world, you wouldn't know.
You don't know.
You wouldn't know. That's my point.
Yeah.
It's one of those worlds.
What you got to do is you got to go to a PBR.
Yeah,
and you're like,
you go there and then you.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. Like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. When you get in the world, you realize how big. So that's really exciting. But yeah, we started with footwear because of my stores, but it also is the hardest matrix. You've got sizes, widths. Like, it's a very hard catalog to build out, and so we wanted to go after the hardest first.
You got to do golf. Tell me when you're in golf. I'm excited for that.
Golf would be fun. I'm getting my.
There's a ton of golf, like little regional stores, and then big stores,
and then massive.
And there's so many brands in golf. Personal plug on that one.
Personal plug.
Well,
and you work with Travis Hawks, right? I think you partnered with him. Fitted.
Yeah.
Shout out to episode 35 there.
Yeah.
Capital
11. Capital 11.
Yeah. Capital 11. They're actually, they're our lead investor for our Series A we're doing right now.
Oh, that's
good.
Cool.
Yeah. Travis is great. We had him on, like he said, episode 30.
Yeah, he's big into local development.
Yep.
Kind of what
he's
you were talking
awesome.
about.
Really good guy.
Love that guy.
Yep.
He's the man.
Now, important question: how many pairs of shoes do you have?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I was just the team was just making fun of me. I probably have 400 or 500.
Whoa,
Dude, you need the software to manage your inventory.
Well, what's funny is I probably say that if you actually talk to my team that owns the stores, they'd say I probably have way, way more than that.
Wait, where are they? I mean,
yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so I brought, when we moved here about 4 years ago, and this was me cutting down, I brought probably 200 with me. And then I have another 300 at my stores, upstairs, all over the place. I mean, I can't tell you, like, my buddies will go into my store, even though I haven't been there in a year, and like they'll just walk into the back of the store and just like take some of my shoes. Because I'm like, dude, if you're my size, go ahead.
You need like an Iron Man drone delivery system. You're like, bring me shoe number 285,
was it
please.
Legally Blonde? There's one of those movies where it just like rotates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, just spin it out.
I guarantee I have like,
how do you choose
10 pairs in my car right now.
In your car?
Dude, that's the 80-20 rule. It's like 20% of your shoes.
You probably wear all the
I
time.
probably don't even wear 5%.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes me mad, in terms of like.
But when you're facilitating these inventory purchases, you're like 10 for you, 1 for me. 10 for you.
No, because I would have to. No, it's when I owned retail stores prior to Fitted, and for 12 years, and so it's like every single time a brand drops a shoe,
you're like, ooh,
they give it to me.
Oh,
right? Because
I
they are.
see.
So those are not my purchase. I've never purchased a pair of running shoes in my life.
That means different. That's different meaning to me then.
It's different. Well, it still is a lot, but I mean, just imagine his closet. He said he brought 200 with him. That means he's like,
that's my garage. My wife is like, there's one side of my garage. That's
how many
shoes.
pairs of shoes does she have? Because normally it's the woman, right?
Oh, she probably has like less than 10.
Yeah.
She's not.
What you got to do is you got to do like a YouTube entry where you're like, I'm going to wear a different pair of shoes every day. 365.
Oh, that'd be
for
cool.
the rest
I
of
could
my
definitely
life.
do that.
For the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I'm going to go until I can't go anymore. You know what I mean?
Then I just go barefoot.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
Yeah, so, no, I love shoes. But now I've got more into Western. I have way too many pairs. Like,
Oh boy,
Boots,
here we go.
no.
Now we're
I
going
have
boots.
way too many pairs of boots, and I don't consider those shoes, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. That's a good point. Those are utility.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Running, you run a lot, right? That's where you started.
I don't. Yeah, it's funny. I started a running store again 12 years ago, and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna get in the best shape of my life.
Oh, you were not even a runner. You're just
No,
like,
I was.
Okay.
Yeah, I ran in high school, and then I went to college to run, University of Maryland, and after about 5 minutes, I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to do school. And so that's when I dropped out and started the store. So but just business and life and kids.
Hold on. Back. Do you mind if we back up a little bit?
No, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So you moved here from California. You went to Maryland. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up actually in the Bay Area for the most part. Yeah.
And then tell me about your childhood and your family.
Yeah.
What your parents do, and if you have a big family with siblings. Build that picture.
There's 4 kids, right? 2 older sisters, a younger brother, super close. Definitely more sports driven, right? So I played all the sports, and then in high school really focused on track and soccer. My family was definitely busy with that stuff. My dad's always been a hardcore runner. Like dude, he's one of those guys that like has to, like, he has trouble because he loses too much weight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I sneeze, I'm afraid he's going to blow away type deal. But
he's got to go eat like milkshakes to
the insurer stuff. Like he used to pound like, and he was a consultant. Right. A lot of his life. So he do
business
tech consultant. Business consultant, sure. So he worked for like the Microsofts and so forth.
As an employee or
no,
as
like a contract consultant. So he'd be part of these different. And so that was his gig. But what was cool is, I probably because he was a consultant and he chose that so he could spend a ton of time with us as kids, right? Like when I was in high school running very, competitively and hardcore, the dude was out at my track practices at like 2 p.m. and would run with us. Like never missed a practice, basically. He got in nasty shape, which was awesome too. But, you know, so he had this great flexibility. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So, yeah. And
Close relationship with the parents then.
Close relationship with the parents. Yeah, they actually moved out here to Boise.
Okay.
Oh, did they?
They followed us.
So wait, so hold on. You're at track practice and your dad's running with you.
Yeah.
Did that ever bug you? I mean, were you like, Dad, come on, give me some space?
No, it surprisingly it didn't. I don't know why. That's a great question.
Was he like beating a bunch of people in your
you know what? It was
team, and they're like, dude,
maybe they didn't know. He just
Monte, tell your dad to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a fifth year. No, no, it's funny. I didn't think. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
And he didn't, especially when he would. My dad's fast, so you know there would be like moments I remember where he'd like try to pull up and like let's go, and it'd just be awesome. Like, dude, you're racing against your dad, and I appreciate it now so much more being a father, right? So
that is cool. Yeah,
I
want to show up to my kids like football practice in pads and be like, let's
oh
go,
my God,
baby,
let's go. Awesome.
And I just get injured, just destroyed, but still,
you just got to run out, deck them, and then run off.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's fun that you had that experience.
Yeah,
that's
that was cool. And he was a monster. Yeah, so he got in really good shape, and so that was fun. But yeah, I never like school to me was like why? I never understood it. To be
even
honest.
high school, you're saying you kind of felt.
I was
so grades not great.
No, actually, so I got straight A's the first 3 years, right? Like just because that's what you're supposed to do in life.
Yeah, right.
And then I literally woke up my senior year, and I was like, what am I doing? Like there's no purpose, right? And I've always wanted to start a business, and I got into University of Maryland. They told me because of running, I was in and everything, they made a terrible decision. They told me in like September, right? So here I am, and I'm like,
done. It doesn't matter.
Done. Like I stopped going to school. Like I went complete opposite, right?
So it's
complete.
So you got to admit it. Oh, it didn't matter.
Didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
I didn't think it mattered.
It probably would have.
I stopped going to school, basically.
Get out.
Yeah.
Really?
I was just like, this is
But
dumb.
you still have to graduate, right?
So I thought I couldn't walk because I literally fell off. Like I went from straight A's, got into all these great schools to like, what am I doing with my life? Right.
Wow.
And I did running, but I was a total jackweed when I look back to it. Like, oh my God.
Maryland was like, hey, remember?
Yeah, basically.
Like,
and so I shaped up during that summer. You know, I got back in shape.
Did they say anything like, oh, your grades are terrible? They're like, yeah, we don't care.
They didn't follow up.
No, they did. I mean, like I was close, you know. It definitely was like, hey, what happened?
Yeah. Okay.
When you're like, how'd you go from, you know, whatever, 4-0 to 2-0? Like, how is this happening? Right. Like, and you're like, dog, why do you care what I do?
You're like, hey, no take backsies.
Yeah.
Come on.
And it was a cool coach. I mean, real cool dude.
Was it distance running? Or
yeah,
was
it was a distance.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a miler.
Was it track or cross country?
No, track.
Okay.
I was a track guy. I ran cross, but I mean, I like that stuff. Yeah, went to college, gave it a try, and again, I got in great shape, like training like crazy, and then I was like, what am I doing with I wanted to start a business, and I'm learning.
So time out.
Yeah.
You mentioned I always want to start a business, and did you know that in high school?
Like,
you mentioned
what jobs? Did you have jobs?
No. So I worked at a running store actually.
Okay, in high school.
I didn't know I wanted to open up. In high school, and in high school a little bit. It's really kind of more like post high school. After I dropped out, you know, I worked in running stores and stuff. Again, I was a complete jackweed with my life.
Were your parents fighting you that whole time?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
They were really frustrated.
I was like the black sheep of the family, right? Like no one's ever not gone to college and graduated. No one's ever not been in a fraternity, sorority. No, you know what I mean? Like there are these rules, right? And you don't realize this until later in life, right? And I just completely rebelled. Like, but yeah, I always knew, like, you know, I have like artwork where my parents will show me later where it's like, you know, first grade, what do you want to do? You know, and it's like, I literally said I wanted to own a business.
Why did you have that motivation? I mean, did your dad, was he like, that's the plan for, I mean, where did that come from?
You know, I've always liked doing things different. Yeah, I've always just kind of rebelled in terms of I love expression, and I love passion and emotion. And I didn't realize I love that until later, if that makes sense. But I just kind of didn't want to go with the flow. I want to do things the way they should be, not the way they're done. I'm a big believer in that.
So your senior year, you worked at a maybe
Yeah.
It was no. I'm just trying to picture. Normally you go to school like 7:45, 8 o'clock. You're done around 2:30. So what happens during that time for you?
Yeah, so I'd go to school. I was seeing a girl at a completely different school, 45 minutes away. So I drive there. I started drinking, I mean, complete opposite of everything I've done.
Sure.
And that must have been so hard for your parents because you were like
Oh God.
on
the
track.
path. Look at him. He's just right on. Check,
And they
check,
didn't,
check.
it sounds like they didn't really have a lot of worries. And then all of a sudden they're like, what happened?
I'm
Like,
sure.
it's this girl or whatever,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I thought
It
was
was
there.
kind of that thing, like, oh, someone's,
Yeah.
Must be someone else.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I look back, it's one of those things you apologize to your and you don't appreciate it until you become a kid, like a parent. And then you're like, oh my God, my heart's broken thinking what I put you through.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was, I look back at everything between 17 and up to the moment where I started my store, and I was like, what the hell was I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting. It's interesting to me that you had such a hard drive to do your own thing, for so young.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a question we ask is like, what nature versus nurture? What molded this? But it sounds like it wasn't too much your parents kind of pushing you that direction.
No,
So it
definitely
was more
not.
of a nature that just kind of was built into you. This is what I need to do.
Were you, were you a good employee?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
I never was. Oh,
Yeah.
so
At the running
sorry.
store.
No, so at the running store, yeah, I was. Absolutely. But again, I was so young. I look back now.
Yeah.
I've only had one real job in my life, and it was working at a running store. And I literally said, I could do this better. and that's what kind of got, I was working at a running store, and I literally had managers or owners, and I was like, dude, you're shit. Like, nope, I could do this better than you. And that's literally what it was. Right. And I thought it was so easy. And thank goodness I had those experiences of thinking, oh, I could do this, because then as soon as you do it, and it's so hard, and you just fail. Right. Which makes it so much fun. But yeah, I'm glad I had that experience, which was most people would think is kind of a bad experience, but that's what drove me to start my own running store, at the time.
Do you wish you would have stayed at Maryland track?
Nope.
No regrets.
No, I don't know. Honestly, if I could have, I would have started my store earlier.
Wow.
That's life is precious. Time is precious.
Sometimes we talk to young, entrepreneurs that started early, and they're like, I wish I would have lived life a little bit differently, and enjoyed it that way, just because they felt like they overworked themselves. Because when you're running your own store, pretty intense type of lifestyle, and you're there in retail, you're there for a long time anyway. But you were, obviously very engrossed in what you're doing, really happy with what you're doing.
Yeah. I love what, I'm still, in it. Let's put it that way. Like, I'm still in the middle of the vortex, right? But I put myself there every day, all day, because I love it, right? And so, no, I don't think, I started the store I just turned 22. Like, no, there's not an ounce in me that, to me, it's like I wasted 3 years before that. So
I'm putting myself in your shoes. You left Maryland.
Which shoes?
One of the extra ones that are out there, it feels good. It feels really good. Unused.
Barely touched.
definitely not touched. Yeah.
What year? So what year did you leave Maryland? Do you remember?
God, 2007.
Okay, so it's 2007. We're about the same age then. We're roughly. Anyway, you may be. I'm about to turn 40.
I think it's a
Okay.
few years, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so you're starting your own retail store, which requires potentially a lease.
Oh yeah.
And-
In Maryland? Did you do it in Maryland?
No, I
You
was.
came back.
Yeah. So, anyways, I went to Maryland, came back home.
Did you hate it?
No, I loved it.
Okay,
was
so it was
awesome.
fun, but it was
Wow.
like, this is not for me.
Yeah, I got into things I shouldn't be getting into.
Yeah, I
see.
And so quickly, one of those things where I woke up and parents are there and like, they're like, yo, you're going
gotta
down
get
a
out of
path.
here.
Right. And so.
Wait, this is important too. I think, now do you feel like that helped you? I mean, you said, what am I doing? And that's a question. What am I doing with my life? Do you feel like that path was like, originally I thought it was because I don't like this. I don't like spending 4 years here in college. Kind of like you felt school, you felt like it was pointless. But it was also the other, could it have been some of the other as well? Like, the party life. I don't really like where this is going.
Yeah, it was more, no, I made a decision. Like I was training like crazy and it was hardcore. I mean, you're doing 3 practices a day. Like, anyways, it was just in your mind, you're doing something because you think that's how you're supposed to do things. And when you stop and say, do I want to do this? When you're that age and you come from a family where you're supposed to do things, it's hard to understand at that time, especially like, okay, well, I don't want to do things that way, and it's okay, right?
Yeah.
And I do everything 110%, meaning if I'm going to fail, dog, I'm going to fail 110%, right? So I went from training to other things like that, right? Like, okay, guess what? I'm going to throw away my life, right? Type deal, right?
I see. So you're there, you're running, you're training like crazy. And
Yeah.
like, hey, I don't really want to do this. And then once you're done, it's like, you're done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're not going to
I
like
go
be
to school.
like kind of
Yeah,
going.
no,
You're like,
I'm going to go hard
I'm not
the
going to
other
school.
way.
There's no training anymore. Yeah. I see.
Yeah. So, and then I come back to home and
Well,
they're
that's
like,
like, you say like
"Get your money."
22, but wouldn't that be like 19? I mean,
Oh, I was 18.
okay, you're 18. Yeah. So
Yeah,
first
I
year
was
of college.
18. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, first year. Oh, yeah, I didn't even get through my first semester. Then I kind of shaped up a little bit, and then I went to Maryland. I had always wanted to be a civil rights lawyer. Huge into that, right? And so I got home, try to sober up, get better, right? And then I moved to Africa. So to go build houses, work at an orphanage, but really just kind of got dropped in a little village, no water, no electricity, just like I needed to go experience that.
Now, was it you looking for this, or were your parents like, maybe?
No, this was me. No, they were actually kind of like, is this like are we going to see our son again?
I mean, it's like, that's better than just like, if you had to sober up, that's better than the alternative, right?
Yeah,
like, we gotta
yeah.
have you go do these things that are productive.
Totally. This
build
was
character,
This was me. I've always wanted to do it. I got a moment of clarity, where I was like, oh, I could do this, and I'll be healthy there too. I wasn't going there to be healthy.
Right.
It was like, oh man, I have a moment. Let's go. Right. And so that was magical. Was there for 3 months and then moved back. And
What part of Africa?
Ghana?
In Ghana. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, some good running.
Oh.
I guess you should have run over to Kenya and just like, let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
There wasn't much running happening
yeah.
where I was. Not by choice. So yeah. And then actually I came back and
To the Bay Area.
to the Bay Area for a hot minute, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to school for civil rights.
Yes.
And I was like, I want to go to the South. Like the South gets this bad rep.
Yeah.
And so I went to University of Alabama. One of my first classes was a law class, and got into it with the professor. They were saying like, it's not about what's right and wrong. It's about what you can prove. And I was so morally against what
Yeah.
talk about wanting to swear right now. Like I was just like, no, that is wrong. Like, that's not what justice, anyways. And so I did exactly what I did with Maryland. I said, okay, watch me, go the opposite direction.
Screw this.
Screw this. Watch me fail.
0 for 2
Yep.
so far.
Yeah. So I made a lot of bad decisions over the next, 2 years. Didn't go to school.
Who's picking up the bills? Who's paying for your parents?
Well, that's why I also dropped out of college both
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was a total privileged kid throwing away,
And it's a fair amount of money, but at least it's only like one semester.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
like
wasn't
3 years.
I
and
wasn't
then-
like, hey, I'm gonna mess around for 4 years and
Yeah.
like skate
Yeah.
by. Like I don't
Right.
skate by, good or bad. It's a
Right.
huge fault of mine too. So, yeah, that's what I did, and that's when I started working at a run shop, and I would.
And this came back to the Bay Area.
Well, no, I was still in Alabama.
Okay.
Just
Not going to school.
jackweed. Yeah, exactly. Living like a college student, but without
Without going to school.
One
One of
money
those
for
guys.
beer, right?
That's
So
right.
go work at a running store because that's all I'd ever done.
Yeah.
And again, that's when I realized, like, oh man, this could be so easy. I just should start my own store. And the old store that I worked at in high school, essentially, closed down. And my parents called me and said, yo, you want to start your own shop?
Interesting. Okay.
Man, running stores are tough.
Yes.
And I don't know much about them. You do.
I really want to get into them.
Running stores are so tough.
But don't spoil.
Okay, all right,
we'll get there. We'll get there. Let's follow the story, and then we can ask all of our questions.
Yeah. So, anyways, moved back home. Parents helped me get the shop open. And
Okay, so they
help finance.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you couldn't.
I was 21 when I moved back.
Yeah.
right?
Does that mean cosign, or are they actually funding? They're holding the note.
No, yeah, they were holding it.
Yeah.
It was essentially me getting a loan from my parents.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So their names on the lease with you.
Yep. Exactly. Initially.
Initially.
Yeah. For the initial.
Did you buy the old store? Did you create your own your new one?
No, that was a big thing for me. Like I'm not going to take another. It was
How
like,
dare you?
Yeah,
even suggest that.
Honestly, like,
Brandon,
my
come
parents
on.
were like,
All right, I'm gonna leave.
Is there going to be a Fleet Feet franchise? Like, all that, and I was like, what is this? And so, but my dad and I are big runners, and we run not for the physical. Like, we're happy, you run. You're sad, you run. Like, you need to work through something, you run. You have a headache, you run. Like, it is a part of
You're tired, you run.
Yeah, 100%.
You're thirsty,
I can't
you
tell
run.
you. Yeah, like yesterday, so much was going on. Went for a run, and it was like a blackout.
Yeah.
I couldn't even tell you. And it's the most important thing, from a mental standpoint in my life, right? And so, we named it A Runner's Mind, for that reason, and we were off to the races.
Yeah.
So you say go for a run. Does that mean like? 'Cause some people say after 3 miles is when you hit the the runner's high or whatever. I've never
Yeah, it's
experienced
so
it personally.
This theoretical.
This theoretical people talk about it.
But it's interesting that he described that because people like Monte and his dad, runners. Your wife,
Yeah, my wife. Yep.
It's like that is a part of the pyramid of health where it's like food, water, running. Like if you take away one of them,
Oh man,
they're dead.
Honestly, yeah, that's the truth. If my wife's knee is like hurting her, it's like the worst. Like she's super depressed for days. She's like, I'm not gonna be able to run anymore. And it's like life might
they
be
get
over.
cranky.
Yes, honestly, it's the truth. It's a big deal. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so your parents, all they know is that you have. I mean, they know you obviously. You grew up with them, but you worked at a running store.
Yeah.
You're working at one in Alabama. Dropped out of college twice, but they're thinking, "Yep, he can run a running store."
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never talked too much about that. Again, if I'm reflecting and thinking as a parent, I would do anything, right? No matter
I'm
what
just
my
saying that
kid-
intuition is crazy. That they were
Right.
like, "I think this might be good for him," and that they were right.
Maybe, right? But
Yeah.
I also say, like, I'm sure, I'm like, my parents are rock stars, right? But I'm saying, I also laugh because if I'm in their position, I will do anything to get my kid out of a funk.
Sure.
Right? So, I don't think I was promising or showing them anything to say, hey, yeah, you should lend me this money and give me this opportunity, right? I think it's part of just being a parent, right?
Well, you could have continued that stretch of like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Walked away.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But
It
sounds like you didn't.
There's a little more commitment.
No, I
maybe you
meant-
felt different. You probably felt different about that
Ownership.
commitment. Maybe a little more ownership of it versus. Yeah, it's interesting.
I met my wife.
There,
it was a
while you were
girl.
doing this.
No,
It was
I
a
met.
girl.
So I moved. Yeah. So I moved back home. I was
To
still.
start the store though, right? Because
No,
your parents,
so I haven't. So my parents say, come back.
they call.
Oh, okay.
And you
And
come back,
start-
and then they tell you.
And it take no. I come back to start the store, but
start the
it's
store.
taken a while. Like you don't just pop open a store, right?
right.
Like I come back to almost prove to them that I'm stable enough to do this. Does that make sense?
Because you're excited. They call you and they
Oh,
say,
I'm jacked up.
You're like, hey, we have this. This store closed, and not because you should buy it, but more like now there's an opportunity.
Now there's a huge need.
Yeah.
And I was
it's
a part of that
Bay Area. So
ecosystem.
wherever this was, it was a bigger.
Yep.
They could tell that people needed this.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. So
Why did it shut down then?
Well,
well, I mean, it's
timing.
Oh, man, I give you a lot of reasons, but I mean, it's a very hard. I mean, it was 2008.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But it's like, man, the Bay Area, everyone thinks has all the money in the world, and they do. It's not a community, right? So it's very hard. I mean, there's pockets. I'm not ripping on the Bay Area by any means. I'm just saying, like, because it's so fast-paced life, and the A word, as I call it, or Amazon, like they were coming up, like, things were just changing.
If you started a running shop in the 90s and then you were approaching 2008, I mean, the shift in operations from e-commerce to funding to lease rates to the total landscape could be 100% different from when you started it and how you were comfortable running
owners, like, when I worked there, it was like, oh, dear God, are we behind the times?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when that all happens. So I met so anyways, I was still figuring it out, trying to get, we were looking at places, I was meeting with brands, and I was out with my sister one morning because we were watching the World Cup game, and it was U.S. versus Ghana, right? So
that was a good game.
Yep. So I was like all decked out in both, Ghana and U.S.
Because you kind of had some Ghana pride.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Ghana beat us. They were a good team at the time.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. And I'm a big USA fan, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm painted. I look like an idiot. It's like 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm wearing like shin guards, cleats, and a bar, no socks. I'm a mess.
You sit in the bar, like what, you got a sports bar watching?
Oh yeah, because it's 11 a.m.
Right.
Right. So we're downtown San Francisco. My sister and I, she's a year older than me, but I'm sure we look like a couple in terms of like, right? We're young, and I literally met my the woman of my dreams happened to meet her.
Wait. She was dressed up as a soccer ball with like American flag. And you're like, yep, this is meant to be.
No, it was, yeah. I mean, to the point where I called my brother the next day and I was like, I just met her.
Wow.
And she actually, when I walked into the bar, she turned to her friend and said, that's the dude I'm going to marry. And her friend was like, all right, you're drunk.
Okay. Let's go home.
That guy looks like a mess. Right. But that was, and she didn't even drop that story on me until we actually got married.
Oh, wow.
Her best friend told the story at our wedding.
Oh, cool.
But we spent like 72 hours together and it was done. And so everything from there on out, I opened the store probably 3 months early than I should have, just to impress her. She was 10 years older. Like I was just head over heels, so. You
had to show you were on a track. You were on the track.
I had to get, not only was I younger than her, but I mean, like I had to act, I had to get my shit together then and there. Right. So no, I think that's actually what turned me.
Well, that's interesting. So that's an anchor. That was like
100%.
Okay, now I'm gonna have a stable life.
Yeah,
I mean stable right?
in a way. Yeah. Well, motivated to be on a so certain right?
Yeah, stable's the wrong word for someone who's starting a running store in the Bay Area at 19. But
So take me through the first few. You started in 2008. There was a downturn, a recession.
Yeah, opened in 2010. By that time.
Okay. 2010. So we're starting to come out.
Yep.
I mean, take me through the first 3 years. What was it like?
That was a blast. I mean, I was hammered all the time. Like,
does that mean drunk?
No, sorry. That would be hammered.
Hammered. Yeah.
No, it was go time all the time. I worked 7 days a week for the first 5 years. Didn't miss a day. I mean, I was having the time of my life. Stress to the corners, which I love. Like, I don't even consider stress. Like, I mean, that's just fun. It was, and we were growing.
Like, you keep saying that, like, oh, I'm having so much fun with this stress. I've been through business stress. I feel some. And I don't know that you describe it as fun.
I mean,
when you get like a letter from someone else's lawyer. No.
When I'm playing golf and I'm hating life, I'm like, this is fun. Kind of like that. That's how I describe that business. Like, this is fun.
Anyway. I probably said like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere, but this sucks. No.
So when is it not fun? Like when it's like things are going well? Like,
no. Sorry. Maybe fun's the wrong word because it's not. I mean, half the time it's really not fun, but it's worth it, right? Like I guess.
Can appreciate it for what it is. These are the trials, whatever. You have to go through.
Like I would rather be in the corner, right, lions surrounding you every day of the week than bored.
Gotcha. You want to fight.
A challenge.
Yeah, why not?
Challenge, yeah.
Like that's the point of living. Like because my other side is doing nothing and being with my children, right? Like two extremes, and I want it all the time, right? So, that's kind of how I see,
So one question I have, and I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off, but your you're just getting into your first few years of owning a
Store.
Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming you hired people at some point.
Kind of.
Okay. And you're an intense guy.
Yeah.
And I could see that as you're learning to manage your first few people, if they don't show the same type of intensity, that may frustrate you. Was that the case?
100%.
That's why I said kind of.
So it's like,
well, no, I mean, you nailed it. And you've obviously done this yourself, because I've never had that question. But now when I look back, I was learning how to manage, right? Most of the people I hired at the time were older, right? Of course. I mean, how could you not be, basically, right? And I wanted that drive and that passion, and not only micromanaging the heck out of things, but, I look back, and what was really difficult was having the verbal not altercations, that's the wrong word, but like, just being open. I was afraid, like I'd be so passionate and jacked up, and if someone else was, I'd get so frustrated. But instead of having that conversation, you'd build it all up in your head, which makes it 10 times worse. And then I'd just say, get out, I'll do it myself. Right. Yeah. Like, I can't tell you how many times I just would be like, everyone leave. I'm going to handle this entire weekend by myself. Right. Because it wasn't going, rather than teaching or being willing to have that conversation.
Well, that's just lessons you have to learn. There's
totally.
no way to learn that, especially if you're not going to work for somebody else and have like a mentor kind of be like, oh, that's how I want to be or not want to be. So you're just going to make those mistakes. That's just going to happen.
Yep. Yeah. And that was, I've technically really haven't worked for anyone. Right. Yeah. So I literally do have to, which I love, like, you just have to learn through failure, and you've got to see the failures and acknowledge them. Yeah. And that's very hard when you're young and starting up. You just don't, you're always right. Or you think like, oh, it's their fault, or blah, blah, blah. Now, I could recognize those a lot faster.
Yeah, that's going to be my question. Do you feel like you're better at that now?
Well, obviously, if my team was listening, they'd probably say no. No,
they're like, Monte sent us home a couple times last week.
No, because I can't code. No, it's funny. I've almost gotten more, not outspoken, but I've gotten more comfortable with saying, y'all, I'll take you to the mountaintop, but I'm going to be me. And so I'm not going to try to change that, right? Rather than trying to be more quiet, or a calm person, or one of those leaders that, just walk with me. Like, that's just not me, dog. Like, I'm going to blow up sometimes, right? Like, but it's going to be passion. I'm going to always state my opinion, but my team also knows that they could be like, well, here's mine. And 90% of the time, I'm going to be like, oh, you're right. I was wrong, right? But you're going to hear it from me, right? So, yeah, I think I've learned a lot to speak earlier, faster, rather than, building things in my head, right? Because it's never as bad as you think, But I also am okay with, like, on interviews, I'm just being myself, because I also want people to join that know exactly what they're getting into, right? If that makes sense.
When you're saying you're interviewing employees or anything,
team members, like, before they join, investors too. Like, investors is a big thing for me. Like, I'm going to be me, because I don't want them to ever feel like they invested in something that's not,
Right.
So, and I don't think I'm like a bad taste or anything, like we're awesome. But I know who I can and who I can't work with, right? Personality wise. And so I want to make that, like, hey, clear up front.
Yeah.
Did you make any big mistakes those first few years?
Biggest. Yeah. What's the biggest?
Biggest mistakes. Oh gosh. I've had two. I'm experiencing two business lives in terms of, I did retail, and then I'm in the midst of a tech company, right? I think they're very, very different. Retail, I try to expand and take the world, and opened up 6 stores like that, and took on a lot of, we'll call it debt, like, and because I was like, I'm taking the world. I'm gonna, like,
you said we'll call it debt.
More like
parent.
No,
debt?
it's debt, actually. No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, I shouldn't say I call it debt. I'm saying it's debt. Right?
It is debt.
Like, yeah, absolutely, for the stores. It was. So, and I wanted to open up 100+ stores, and started scaling and realized which gets me so excited, how important it is for the human running the store. Like that, it's so important for the people in the community. The only way to get them to come back is the experience and the people, right? And so if I'm the person or my right-hand person's always the person, and yet you try to just say, go open up a bunch of stores, it doesn't work.
Right.
Right. And that was a really cool learning experience, but it was also...
Biggest mistake then? Was that the biggest mistake?
Oh my,
yeah.
I mean,
just too soon, you're saying?
Yeah. Guys, I've had so many, I consider, tons of mistakes, but I don't see mistakes as a bad thing. I try not to make
it's a learning experience.
Yeah. And then for Fitted, it's too early. I mean, I think... sure, I've made hiring mistakes. I slip up my words. Yeah, I say things sometimes I don't want to say, but
do you still have that? Do you still have that running store?
Oh yeah.
What was you do? So
yeah,
what was the arc of
mind.
that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fun. We're talking about all sorts. So running store. I want to take the world.
Yeah.
Try to expand it. Realize couldn't. And here I am.
This is like over a 5-year period?
Yeah. Oh, no, I did that in 2 years.
Okay.
So I did three in like 6 years. And then in 2 years, I went out and tried to do another 3 or 4. I mean, it was nuts, right?
In a similar geographical area.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like...
It wasn't too far.
Okay.
No, but, and so it was crazy. And then failed, and I... To our credit, man, we made the hardest decision of shutting down, but we made it at the right time. We made it early. Like, that was good.
So you saw it wasn't going to work out how you wanted, and you made
cut the loss.
Yeah, instead of just sitting there and just trying and throwing money at it.
And it would hurt my other stores.
Sure.
So, anyways, I got a taste of and I've always felt like there needs to be something bigger, right? And so I actually went to a speaking thing with my dad, and I heard the CEO of MuleSoft. Yeah. They had just sold to Salesforce for $6 billion.
MuleSoft, MuleSoft.
Yeah.
What did they do?
Around. I can't remember what it
They were like a CRM of some type. I don't even remember. I mean, guys, I don't know how to work a cell phone, and yet I'm in the Bay Area. Like, I don't know tech at all. Like, I literally don't. Like, I've never had a social media account in my life. Like, I don't know how to do stuff, right? Because I just don't. I love humans, right? And I'm so kind of anti-tech, to be honest. I was. So I go to this thing. I'm like, whatever. And here's a guy that sold his company like $6 billion, and he's just a normal dude, smart, gracious, but like, it's like any of us three, right? And that's when I said, oh, okay, hold on. I can do that, right? Like,
I've heard that. You said that a couple times.
Internally, I probably said I could do that better, right? Like
6.5.
Yeah. I was like, that's well, and again, I'm so. I think $100,000 is just goblets of money. I'll be honest. And so $6 billion, I don't even comprehend. But when I hear that, I'm like, oh my God, I got young kids. Like, I'm like, oh no, I want to do that. Okay. Now here's a way to affect the entire world and not have to do it through physical stores. And so that's
why you transitioned.
So wait. But that just gave you the motivation to go into tech.
It like opened the possibility. And so I started, I got back onto the aggressive, like, okay, how do we take the world, but not in a not in a physical footprint. And one of my group runners was a retired tech monster, and he had said to me, like, hey, if you ever need help, let me know. And so I went to him, and we started trying to find solutions for myself, like as a runner's mind, my running store. And I said, Glenn, we could take this to the world. Like, I can give this to all my buddies. And I remember him saying at one point, you're talking about a SaaS. And I was like, what's a SaaS? And he told me, I was like, I still don't know what that means. And then he's like, Monte, we can never do that. We'd have to raise money. And I was like, what do you mean raise money? And he's like, I don't know. It cost us like $100K, and that time it's like, no, that's out of the question. And the rest is history.
So then 5-6 years ago then?
That was 4.
4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when originally the idea started.
Yeah, we started. Yeah, and it kind of evolved a lot, and then we launched in late 2019.
You and Glenn
And Andrew. Yeah, there's
Okay.
3 of us. Yeah, his son, because he had tech. So those were the tech guys. I was the retail guy, and I knew we had something special. Like I was like, and so we moved to Boise because I wanted to do something different. Like I don't want to start a tech company in the tech capital of the world. Like that's garbage town. And so moved out to Boise. And
why did you move to Idaho?
my wife has family here, so we've been coming here since the day we met. And again, we had 5 kiddos, like out of the Bay Area. Like I still didn't have, there was no way I was going to could buy a house. I couldn't afford to buy a house for the life of me. Right. And so, and I just didn't want that. Yeah. Some things happen in our life that I just wanted to slow down.
Yeah. Does she ever like rein you in and be like, hey, can you not try to take over the world right now? Or what was throughout this process? What has she been?
Yeah, first 5 years you met her, and then first 5 years you're working 7 days a week.
Yeah,
it's so funny. I feel like everything I'm saying is coming back. She knew exactly what she was getting into. Same thing about like hiring. I can tell you, like we started dating, and I can't tell you how many nights she slept on the I bought a couch to put in a empty store. Didn't even have like floors. And I bought a couch so she could sleep there while I worked all night long. Right. I mean, it was one of those things. Yeah. So, she knew exactly kind of who I was, but yeah, are you kidding me? Yes. She tries to, Monte, you don't have to do this. And it's like, I know I don't. Right. So she tries to rein it in a lot. Yeah. So
now I want to ask questions about running stores, because I don't understand how I go in there, and I love Fleet Feet. I go in there and they measure. They're great people. And then they don't have the color I want.
Yeah.
And then I had to order it online, and I'm like, this guy just got screwed.
Oh, you don't order it through Fleet Feet?
Well, sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. I mean,
sorry, Fleet Feet.
They're like, hey, it could be weeks. Amazon, I can get it tomorrow. Maybe that's me. I'm sorry, Monte, if you're
But the
offended.
color, that's not a big deal, right? I mean,
yes. I mean, a color is a big part of your shoe.
Okay,
like most
I didn't know there was an option. So when I go into Fleet Feet, they're just like I'm basically like, these are my running shoes. I'm not like trying to impress anybody. It's like
everyone has to be impressed.
That's true. Okay, I didn't know that. So the thing is, it's like I don't want to draw attention to me running, because I'm like, they're not going to be impressed by me running. That's not going to be impressive.
You got to distract them from.
I've seen running shoes start and stop a bunch, or running stores.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
And because it's tough, it's like you have to have your following of people, your hardcore runners, and then you have to draw in people that are not as hardcore. And there's like this runners community that can be intimidating sometimes, because it's like all these people that they'll go out and run 10 miles in a day, and I may run 10 miles in whatever, a month or something, or a year, or whatever that is. And so they're like, oh, you don't know about all the damage, so you need these shoes so bad. And you're like, look, I just want to, run part of my exercise. So I always thought that was an interesting dynamic with running stores.
Okay.
It's like this hardcore group of people that have to replace their shoes every 2 or 3 months. And then the other group of people that are like less hardcore. Is that accurate in how you describe that? Or what's
I think a lot of stores unfortunately act that way.
Yeah.
We at A Runner's Mind never did.
Yeah.
Because who am I to say and look down on someone just because I could run faster? Like, that's what I spent my time doing. That was my choice. I'm sure you're better at me than a heck of a lot more things, right? Our mentality, and I think that this needs to be the mentality of every store in the world. Like, you have no idea what that human being is going through. Like, how many times has your guys' day gotten better when a stranger is nice to you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, a smile can literally change your day, sometimes your week, and a great interaction can sometimes change your life. And the fact that retail stores have this incredible opportunity to have those moments day in, day out with everyone that walks in the stores is a gift, right? And they almost take it for granted, and you walk into some of these big box and it's like they're annoyed that you're there or that you ask a question. And that's why I started the stories, because I was like, that's how, like, I'm coming to you for help, dog. Like, help me, right? And so, you know, the way that running stores, especially because it's so important that you get it right, and it's such a big thing for some human to say, I'm going to go run. Like, running can suck. Like,
It does.
Well, running,
It does suck.
running
Right?
is the punishment of every other
Yes,
sport.
of
It's like,
sport.
okay, go. You got to run. Oh, man. And
Drop the ball, go right.
Yeah, like you're in
Yeah.
football, they're like, no, you guys are sucking today. Go run to that fence. We're like, oh, you know, so it brings that
Literally.
emotion back,
Yes.
you know?
And that's everyone's. And so you got to do the community building. You got to show, you just got to be excited. Like, you're changing your life right now. How many times, like, exercise and running changes human beings' lives. And you get the opportunity to deliver that and to be that person that changed that person's life, right? So
I also think running stores are tough because you have all types of running. There's trail running, there's treadmill
Totally.
running, there's road running.
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
There's like the, you know, there's the CrossFit type running where you're
Yeah,
trying to do exercising and running and
Right.
sprinting and long, you know, and so that's tough to carry that type of inventory to match,
Yes.
you know, what everybody's coming in for. And then you got this jerk over here who's like, nope, not
What
the
a-
right color.
Yeah, no,
not
we're
even the right color.
I'm
You're
not
like, I
boxing
have that shoe.
No, but I wonder also, I feel like, because I kind of feel like the brands, like Nike, all these,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
selling online or on Amazon.
Yeah, yeah.
And they would love it if you bought there. But a lot of times they don't have, you know, they have a Nike store
Yeah.
here, but there's no like Brooks. I don't know where it is if it's here. But they need Fleet feet.
Fleet feet.
Fleet feet. They need
You need
them.
both feet, not just one foot.
They need, that's right, not just one. They need Fleet feet. Because I go in there and they put me on their system. They,
Yeah.
we got some shoes, and I appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And
And you take that information and you go
No,
home
but-
and you
but-
order it.
But this is exactly why Fitted started, because the little guys haven't been able to play or succeed because of the exact experience that you just said.
yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm going to be restrained at a runner's mind or Fleet feet or anything
Yeah.
by the cash and the size of my back.
Yeah, you can't buy all the colors.
Exactly.
That's too much inventory.
So we've created this network that I was telling you about, right? And the idea, which is so freaking cool, is not only are we automating and streamlining the ability to buy from brands and fast so that, you know, we can compete with, as I call it, the devil A word, right? Like, but
The
But-
devil A word.
yeah, it's a swear word in our office
We'll-
and at my
we'll
house.
bleep-
We'll
we'll
never
bleep
say
it
it
out.
again.
Every
Yeah, you
time
better
we
bleep that out.
Who must not be named.
Right, but we're giving the, like, we believe the future is you go to either Nike.com, you know, let's say you go to Nike.com, you place an order, and your doorbell should ring an hour later, and your local retailer just fulfilled.
See
or
that?
Oh,
or
really?
a state
Interesting.
over. But that can only
Drone
happen
delivery.
if everyone's on a universal platform.
That's interesting.
And that's what we've created.
See, when I worked at a ski and snowboard shop, and the fight at the time when the big bad wolf came up was
This is like 2000.
D2C, right?
No, it was, I was in
no,
college.
2007,
2006,
2008,
2007,
and it was okay. We got the brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
And we're, you know, it was an older system.
Mm-hmm.
You get the same, you buy the same inventory every year from the same suppliers, and the fight was okay. Who's gonna win this? Come into the store, try it out, feel it.
Yeah.
And then who's going to win this? Well, I may get more options or a cheaper price ordering online, but I can't, you know, feel that and touch it and try it on.
can't
And I
have the
don't know.
experience.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that, you know, I guess 15 years later, that future's still undetermined on who's going to.
Completely undetermined. And it's because everyone's fighting over it rather than coming together and saying, we all can win. The consumer can win, the retailer can win, and the brand can win.
So let's say it's all working, right? Let's say Fitted's like all connected to all
Yep.
these retailers. I go in there, I want this color, right?
Yeah,
this
yeah,
orange.
yeah,
See
yeah.
it?
Hold on. Get the,
On
get
the
it.
camera.
That's not, yeah.
This bright orange, red, pink, whatever color it is. They can say, okay, yeah, we don't have it here, but I know what's right here. We can get it to you tomorrow or
Yes.
Yeah.
We've allowed that. So remember when the ports of Long Beach like were just packed with inventory? You couldn't buy anything from brands because brands had nothing. We turned at the time it was only like $130 million worth of inventory that we had, and we were connected to everyone. And we said, hold on, we're going to turn that into a marketplace where we completely anonymized it and but aggregated it all. And so now when you walked into your favorite local shop and said, "Hey, I need this," in an orange, and I'm cursing you under my breath because you just asked for a color for a running shoe, by the way. Anyways,
That's right.
but
color.
I know why color.
But my point being, I go to Brooks.com. They don't have it. I have to come out to you and say, I'm so sorry. I can't get it.
Sucks.
And that's a terrible experience.
Right.
Hence why everyone started going to the Devil A Word, because they couldn't get the books that they wanted from their local bookshop and so forth. Right. And so what we've created is, okay, even if the brand doesn't have it, our network can fulfill this order for you.
So,
and it's like instant, and it's 2-day air, and it's that is insane, right?
That's huge.
So Fleet Feet Boise potentially could be the vendor for Runner's Mind in California,
and
like that.
Yep, it was plenty of
Shows
times.
the inventory.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so,
Interesting.
and it was so cool when it was needed. It should be your last resort, Hail Mary. But again, the whole point of what we keep talking about is that customer experience. Like, now you are going to go back to that retailer, I hope, every single time, because no matter what, if the product exists in the entire country, they can get it for you.
Right.
So what do you see the future of this fitted being? That, I mean, where do you want it to be in 10 years? What do you're like, hopefully we grow it. I'm always in it, or it's like grow and get acquired by a bigger company.
6.5?
6.1.
6.1.
No,
6.1.
more than MuleSoft.
Yeah.
That's child's play. We won't say
That's right. That's child's play.
No, yeah, well, I'll keep, I'm very confident in fitted. Meaning, I sound crazy whenever I talk about it, right? But I believe in it. And honestly, I know where it can go more than, and I know it can get bigger than I'd even ever tell anyone, because I'd sound crazy, right? But I do believe that it's really up to us to determine the future of retail. And retail is a massive, massive market. So, we will go public. I don't think a company can buy us when we get to where we're going to go. But I also know that I wouldn't last, and all our investors know this, like I wouldn't last 5 seconds as a CEO of a
publicly traded.
No,
that's a tough job.
Go screw yourself. Like, I don't care what. Yeah. Then, currently, and I'd love to go and change those markets next, but the values has nothing to do with real value. It's purely money, right? Like, it has nothing to do with real value. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in this world. Like, we're valuing that over everything else, like dollars at the end of the day. That's a great freaking company. It means nothing once you go public.
Yeah, it's
whether
just,
you're great.
It's hard to put a dollar sign on a great company.
It is. It is,
yeah,
right? But that's because that's where our current value system is.
Sure.
If the values were based on, sure, you're profitable and
Overall
blah, blah, blah,
good.
but it's like that, I love that leader, I want to invest in that. Guess what? That would become even greater of a company.
Yeah.
That's a heavy lift to change that.
Hey, we're all about it, baby.
There you go.
When they won't, we will.
There you go. Don't doubt it. Well, that's exciting, man. That's a cool one. Do you mind if I ask you a few follow-up questions on that? So what would you do different? Looking back on what you've told us, what would you have done different?
With Fitted?
Just with your life, or just the story that you've told us so far. Like, do you ever look back and say, man, I wish I would have taken a right, not a left, or?
Oh, I mean, I could, I could have done a million things different, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do things differently because I am where I am, right? Because of every terrible mistake, or I say terrible, as in like that sounds, but like just bad business decision or whatever I've made, personal decisions, like. I am where, so no, I wouldn't do anything different. I mean, I love.
Yeah, we get a lot of varied responses on that.
And we get that one sometimes. We have an occasional where they're like, we recognize that this has made me what I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recognize that those mistakes are
the directions that you took you to this point.
Right.
Right. Kind of, saying you do something different basically means you're not loving where you're at, at the moment.
Yeah.
Kind of is where that.
And you can't go back. You can accept where you are and make a change, and learn from it. So yeah, I'm going to do a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
But no.
So you're talking to somebody coming out of high school or even in college.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, Monte, I want to do what you did. I want to follow your footsteps or I want to start my own company. What do you tell them?
You better be, gosh, what would I tell them? I think it's great. You better be sure of your passion, right? You really do, because it will also put everything in your life at risk. And so you better be extremely passionate, and I'm not going to say sure in yourself, because I'm not like, always in yourself, but you better be sure in your belief, because everyone's going to tell you if you're doing something, in my opinion, that's worth doing. Most people are going to say, you probably shouldn't, or not in like you shouldn't be doing that. It's like, what? Like, that's riskier than you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, crazy guy, you sound like that's, and that gets me excited. Like, I want to hear like, yeah, maybe do one of the 10 things, right? Like, so yeah, just look, I'm a big believer that someone that works at the local coffee shop is just as successful as a human being as the dude that sold MuleSoft, right? Like, if that is what brings them the most joy in their entire life, right? So that's why it's like, well, make sure you're doing it, because you wake up every morning terrified and excited, right? Like, I believe you should live life like that. You should be terrified of what opportunity you have in front of you. Right. So
it's been great, Monte. Yeah, I've had a great, this is a fascinating story. It's really great obviously your full passion, you're an energetic guy.
Yeah.
It's been really interesting and fun to hear it. Appreciate you coming on.
How do we find more about Fitted?
And fittedretail.com?
Yeah, it's fittedretail.com. We're not big on the site doesn't tell us too much.
It looks good, but
it looks,
it doesn't give the whole picture of what you are.
On purpose. Yeah. How would you learn? Just wait.
Just wait. You'll know.
Yeah.
When you find out about it, when you need to know about us, you'll know.
When you need to know. Yeah. My biggest plug would not be about, as in Fitted Retail, by supporting local businesses or keeping your dollars in your community, you're supporting Fitted.
Yeah.
And we're going to be behind that.
So Fleet Feet, when I can go to Fleet Feet and I can get the color I want, I can be like, tip my hat to Fitted
there you
Retail.
go. There you go.
Thanks,
Yeah. So, and we're just starting our work with them, and it's going to be an exciting partnership. So, yeah. But yeah, that's the best way to learn about us is go shop at a great local shop.
And you still have the Runner State of Mind?
A Runner's Mind.
A Runner's Mind.
A Runner's Mind. I still own them technically, so I cry
it's
if
in
I have
California?
to get a bill. It's back in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And it's great because, it provides life for a lot of great humans, and but they're running it like it's their shop. But it's been an incredible petri dish and kind of place for all of our team to learn. Our engineers get to have these really cool experiences. They feel the problem because they are working with people that are living that every day, right? And that's a pretty cool experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, check them out if you're in the Bay Area, Runner's Mind. And then every time you're at a local retail shop trying on shoes, know that Monte's there trying on another pair of shoes.
Yeah. He probably has that pair already. So.
Thanks, Monte. Appreciate your help.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Founders Podcast. Be sure to follow the host on Twitter. Search @JordB Hansen and @BrandonMinert to discuss more. Also, be sure to visit thefounderspod.com to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content.